So you're looking into purchasing an eInk tablet and you've stumbled upon the SuperNote A5X. I've now tested it, the Remarkable 2, and the Boox Note Air 2 Plus. And in this video, we'll focus on the SuperNote and how it stacks up against the competition. And in the end, I'll let you know who I think is and isn't a good fit for this device. I should start by saying that Rada did send this device out to me per my request, but that has no influence on my review. And they were very clear they wanted me to share my honest opinion, even the things that I didn't like. So starting with initial impressions, I want to be clear that if you've used the Boox or the Remarkable 2, the SuperNote in your hand is not going to wow you. If you're used to the materials on those devices, you may be a little let down initially. The build is completely plastic and the background color of the screen is not very bright. With that said, once you get over that initial reaction, their design decisions actually make a ton of sense. The Boox and the Remarkable both have glass screens that are very fragile, and the SuperNote instead uses a plastic screen and body that are very flexible. I really have no concerns when carrying this around that I'm going to break it. And if I'm a person on the go, this is actually the tablet that I worry about the least. This is the one that I can throw in my bag and I don't have any fear if it's gonna be broken. Another big aspect of that grab and go portability is this folio that comes with it. It really makes this feel like a notebook, and I don't have any concerns about scratching it. I'll probably scratch the folio, but I don't really have any concerns about that. And it holds the pen in a way that feels really nice. The thing that I've learned in my handful of months with the Boox is that the magnet to hold your pen is completely unreliable. And this is honestly just a better solution if you need 100% reliability. I love how thin the folio is. Most devices, when you add a case to them, it changes the form factor and makes the device feel worse and cheaper. And this is one of the first devices that I've used where it actually feels like a better experience by adding the folio. The other nice thing about the folio is the device will unlock as you flip it open and you can immediately start writing. On the Remarkable, when you do that, you have to flip the folio open and then press the unlock button. It just seems like an unnecessary step. So getting back to the form factor and feel, there's no getting around the fact that this device feels a lot thicker. The Boox and the Remarkable are fairly similar, but the SuperNote is probably twice as thick as either of those devices. And I'm not gonna say that that's a problem, but it definitely changes how nice it feels in your hand. I would say that both the Boox and the Remarkable have a distinctively premium feel relative to the SuperNote. But speaking of premium, the Heart of Metal pen that comes in the box feels absolutely great. It has, in my opinion, perfect thickness, nice weight, and feels completely balanced while in use. It does not have an eraser, but that is no big deal on the SuperNote because the SuperNote has this wonderful feature where you can hold two fingers down on the screen and it will erase instead of drawing. Every other tablet should add this feature immediately. Like Boox, Remarkable, please pay attention. This is a game changer. It feels so intuitive and natural, and I miss it whenever I'm on a different device. Getting back to the screen, the background brightness of it is just a major letdown. The Boox is decidedly the best here because it actually has a backlit screen. But when comparing the Remarkable and the SuperNote, both of which don't have that backlight, the Remarkable's screen feels bright white and the SuperNote feels very dull. And that lowers the overall contrast and makes it harder to read your text when indoors. If you're writing outdoors, this is not a problem. Moving on to writing feel, this is an area where the SuperNote probably has its most distinct advantage. Instead of having a hard screen with soft nibs like the Remarkable and the Boox, the SuperNote takes the opposite approach where they have incredibly hard nibs via their ceramic nibs that never need to be changed, and instead have a soft display, basically flipping it on its head. Whether you like this or not is ultimately going to come down to personal preference and how you write and the feel that you desire, but I'm going to do my best to try and explain this with words. The Remarkable 2 and the Boox feel more like pencil on a single sheet of paper on a hard surface. The SuperNote feels more like you're writing on the first page of a new one-subject notebook, in that when you press, not just the sheet that you're writing on compresses, but the entire notebook compresses. That's the best example I can come up with to explain this. And if you were to write with a lot of pressure, your pen nib would actually dig into that notebook and would give you more resistance. That is the sensation of the SuperNote. And whether you like that or hate that is ultimately going to come down to your own personal preference and how you like to write. If you're a person who doesn't apply a lot of pressure, I think you're going to like it. If you're a person who really pushes your pen tip down, it could be a bit distracting. In my case, I don't like that feel. And aside from the brightness of the screen, that's probably my single biggest detractor from the SuperNote, is I just don't enjoy writing on it. Now, I want to be very, very clear that you should not choose to not buy the SuperNote based on my personal writing opinion. With that said, this is SuperNote's standout feature, and for those who like that writing feel, you are going to absolutely adore the SuperNote. If I were in that camp, the SuperNote would be the device that I carried, and it would be my out-and-out recommendation for everyone because their software is spectacular. And that's where we're gonna go next. It is clear in use that Rada has really thought deeply about their software experience and what it's like to use their notebook. They have basically taken a paper notebook and supercharged it with a bunch of usability features to bring it into the digital age. They have the most usable toolbar of all of the 3 tablets, and it's an absolute joy to use. It strives that perfect balance between having your tools be available and not distracting you from your content. I always know which notebook I'm in, what page I'm on, where that page is relative to other pages, but I don't have nearly the desire to turn it off as I do on the Boox or the Remarkable. Kudos to the SuperNote team. It is a masterclass in that regard. As a lefty, I also love that I can move that toolbar around. Something that all of these tablets are notorious for are having the back button in the top left, and as a lefty who arches their hand, I'm constantly hitting the back button on accident. The SuperNote, I'm able to move that toolbar to the bottom, and this issue completely goes away. 2 other small but significant things are, I love that you can set the page turn to be with 2 fingers to reduce the chances of accidentally turning your page with your palm. And I also love that your tool preferences are shared across notebooks. That's something that I think both the Boox and the Remarkable get wrong, that each document has its own pen preferences. For me, as someone who does a lot of wireframing and freehand writing, I want the same pen preferences all the time. I get the idea of each notebook being different, but it's just not something that I take advantage of, and is honestly a barrier to me structuring my notebooks based on topic, just because the time spinning up a notebook is too long. The other thing that I take advantage of constantly is the fact that the toolbar has both your pen and your highlighter available with 1 tap. This is, in my opinion, something that the Remarkable gets wrong, where there's only 1 icon for your current tool in the Remarkable, and you have to tap on that and then tap on the highlighter. It's nice to just be able to leave the toolbar open at the bottom and switch between the highlighter and the pen easily. Another thing that I think is worth pointing out is that Rada is constantly evolving the software of the SuperNote. I've had this tablet about 6 weeks, and the software has improved a ton. They added this toolbar update that allows you to move the toolbars and changes the look, and the usability improved right before my eyes. And that really isn't something that I've seen out of Remarkable, where their software really hasn't changed or improved at all. Another big pro for the SuperNote and its software is its organization and navigation. In my opinion, I gotta stop clicking this pen, it's too fun. If you're a person who keeps a physical notebook now or a day planner, the SuperNote is gonna feel excellent to you. You can pin documents and pages to this quick access panel and get to it with 1 slide and a tap. And that makes getting to something like a table of contents or pages you access daily incredibly easy. It has the closest usability to a real notebook, in my opinion, of all the eInk tablets. One of the biggest things about these eInk tablets that I don't like is that I don't feel that spatial nature of being able to jump 5 pages at a time easily. And I think the SuperNote bridges that gap the best of the 3. The SuperNote feels like it's optimized for long notebooks, things that you write in daily and evolve over time. And the reason why that feels so good is you have the star feature and the table of contents. So let's talk about that for a second. Anywhere in your document, you can draw a star and it will index that in the notebook. At that point, you can flip to the stars and it'll show you all of the pages that you've starred something. This is really handy when finding to-dos that you need to follow up on. Throw a star next to it and you'll never lose one. And then you can just erase the star once you've moved it to whatever your actual to-do list is. Titles work very similarly, where you can lasso a title and convert it to a title, and then it'll index that in the table of contents. So if you want to have sections, or if you keep a daily planner and you want to be able to jump to each day easily, it makes that a breeze. If you don't want to go with the long-lived document format, SuperNote also has you covered in that if you want to create a notebook for each topic or each day, that's perfectly fine too, because the notebooks auto-name based on the day's date. So you don't have to feel the need to title that notebook when you start it. You can just start a notebook right, and you can feel confident that you'll find it later and at least be able to orient it temporally with when you did it. Oh, I almost forgot. The page flips and all the animations feel incredibly responsive. It's neck and neck with the Remarkable. Both of those devices feel very snappy, and they make the books feel sluggish in comparison. I would say that the SuperNote has the best navigation and usability features of all the tablets. The Remarkable 2 can get very, very close to it if you're willing to do the DDVK hacks. But if you're not a person who's going to hack your device, the SuperNote is far and away the best in this regard. So I've told you a lot of what I like and don't like about the device, but I do have a bunch of wish list items that I hope that Rada will add in the future. A lot of these things are really small, but the thing I've realized with all these tablets is those little rough edges are the things that drive you nuts. And when those rough edges are ironed out, it makes your day just so much more enjoyable. So let's hop into it. First thing is, I wish that I could set the thickness of the highlighter. Similarly to how you set your pen thickness, I write with a consistent line height most of the time, and it would be nice if I could make the highlighter thicker to align with that so that I can strike through it once instead of having to strike through and then come back to make it fill up the whole text. It's a little thing, but it drives me nuts. A thing that the DDVK hack on the Remarkable has that I absolutely love is the fact that you can slide your finger down the side to switch between your current tool and your previously used tool. So I only use two tools with these devices. I use the main pen and then I use the highlighter. And so it'd be really nice if I could just slide my finger to switch to the highlighter, slide my finger again to switch back. That makes the Remarkable a breeze to use. This would make it so that I could turn off all the toolbars and just have a paper notebook, and I would rarely ever need to go into the GUI at all. When exporting my documents to PDF, I wish the output was true vector instead of raster-based live tracing. So my interpretation of what Rada is doing here is they're recording raster data into your notebooks, and then when you go to export it as a vector-based PDF, they do a Adobe Illustrator style live trace where they try to convert the raster image back to vector, but that's just not as good as just recording vector and then exporting the actual vector. In my opinion, the Boox does this the best of the three tablets. Another thing that's sorely missing but is on their roadmap is the ability to export documents to Google Drive. Currently, I can't do that directly from the device. I wish when exporting my documents, I could check whether or not I want the template grid exported with it. So I normally draw with a dot grid, and that helps me align when drawing, but the people who are going to receive my document don't really need that. But there's not currently a good way to hide that unless I go into the layers panel ahead of exporting, turn it off, export, and then turn it back on. And then probably the most game-changing feature from the Boox is that you can send your to-do tasks directly to your to-do list of choice. When I'm on the Boox, I have Todoist on that device, and I can pull down from the top to send tasks to Todoist, which will go to my central inbox in Akiflow. If I could do that from the SuperNote, it makes a major case for using that as my primary device. So another aspect of writing feel is what the text itself looks like. For me, I would describe the look of the text on the SuperNote as good. It's not bad and it's not great. I would say in comparing the three devices, the Boox has the best looking text after the fact. Their anti-aliasing just looks great, and I think they're rendering to a higher DPI canvas if I were to guess. The look of the text on the SuperNote and the Remarkable both look rough in comparison. I would say the SuperNote maybe looks slightly more rough than the Remarkable, but they're pretty neck and neck. In my case, I like the look of the ballpoint pen, but I don't like the look of the fine liner, which is kind of weird because I actually really like the look of fine liners in real life, but I don't enjoy them on the SuperNote or the Remarkable 2 for some reason. All right, so who is this tablet good for? Anyone who maintains a paper to-do list or a paper planner is gonna love this device. The other group of people who are really gonna enjoy it are those that like writing with gel pens. I would say that the SuperNote feels like a gel pen on paper. If you like that really smooth writing feel, you're really gonna love it. If you're an artist and you really like that pencil on paper feel, you might not like it. I would say find some way to try it ahead of buying it, because you might not enjoy it. And that's kind of the case for me. This would be my go-to tablet if I liked the writing feel of it. I like the feel of it in my hand. I love their software. I love their organization, but it's just not my favorite device to write on. And that's just a personal preference thing for me. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you haven't checked out the review of the Boox Note Air 2 Plus, I would say check that out. I also have a review on the Remarkable 2 coming. By the time you watch this video, it may already be out. And if you have a question about any one of these devices, reach out in the comments. I'm happy to help you answer your questions. The thing I've learned throughout this whole process is picking out an eInk tablet is incredibly difficult. There is no right tablet, and it's really about picking the right one for you. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.